Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Femme Force Podcast. My name is Rachel Paspan, and I am your host. And today I am joined by my amazing friend, Becky. Becky, thank you so much for being here and coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
So, Becky and I met eons ago, so like
Yeah,
2019, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And at the time, she was running a travel company for women, and I literally found them through Instagram and was like, I want to do this. It was coming out of a breakup and was like, I'm booking this. And I wanted to go to Malawi. And then she somehow talked me into going to Morocco and Malawi and took all my money in a year, was so grateful. And that started my journey for going on women's travel groups and making all these amazing lifetime friends. And I've made so many from Morocco that I
Friends.
still,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm still in
you're
contact
friends
with
with
in
still
Malawi.
today.
Yeah. And I
That's
love
great.
it.
And
And
those were
it's
the first trips
amazing.
that you went on as a group
Yeah.
women's trip. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, that's
Yep.
so
And
fun. That was one
it's,
of the best parts of running that business is bringing people together and then seeing them continue those relationships going on after the trip.
yeah, Sydney's been on the podcast. She was on it about her
Oh, yeah.
military life career, with her husband being in the military and her being a military wife. Anna will be coming on at some point for talking about her book. And like, it's just
Lovely.
been such an amazing journey. I get to see so many of them. Even when I'm in South Africa, I get to catch up with some. And I'm like, this is just so
Yeah.
cool that like I have friends in South Africa. Like, not many people
Friends
are going to
around
say
the
that.
world.
I
And
know.
you
And I
travel
love
so
that.
much, so you've got friends everywhere now.
I know. And I love that.
Yeah.
So, Becky has started a new venture, which I'm so excited to talk about. You've been an entrepreneur for your entire life, and like you came a little bit out of corporate, started the
Yeah.
travel business, and are now going into something different, but still very community based. So,
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about like your background and like how that's led into your current projects?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background actually originally started in private banking. So sound, as you said, the corporate side, I went straight into wealth management and managed private client assets. I was an investment analyst at first and then went into managing private clients. So that meant I was working with FTSE 100 CEOs, private equity individuals, hedge fund managers. So very corporate and very much on that sort of business side. I then took the leap in 2016 to leave. I was at UBS Wealth Management and I left to start my travel company, as you mentioned, and that's how we met. So I started a female travel business running group trips around the world and bringing women together, building a really big community. We had over 500,000 people on social media, a really big following to our website. So we became one of the leading women's travel companies, which was great to build. And then going on from there, I actually sold that business and completed the sale last year, which was, marking that entrepreneurial journey of starting
Yeah.
one thing and then letting that season pass and start something new. And so I think a little bit of time to think about what I really wanted to do next. And now I'm creating a new community for women again, but this time focused on career and career advancement. And so it's called Peer Suite, and we're a career networking platform for professional women, specifically in the UK. And we're starting there at the moment, but obviously, with all of these things, you want to expand and maybe you go global. So we're starting with an online membership and what we like to call not boring networking events.
That's so amazing. And like, excuse me. You're going from community to community, and like, is that kind of what you wanted to do? Like, your niche is really creating these communities and bringing people together.
I think so. I don't know that I kind of had that intention at the very beginning to build communities, but one of the things that I loved and we kind of mentioned already a little bit is when I ran group trips and saw 12 to 14 women connecting, the friendships that were made in that time, and say it was 7 days or 14 days, whatever the length of the trip was so incredible. And then seeing that continue on, and not just in the friendships that people had, but I did see and have heard and met up with a lot of people from our trips afterwards who've then gone on to help one another in business. And that was a really nice extra piece that I hadn't really thought would come out of it. And I actually met up with somebody, Jess, a couple of weeks ago. She works for TikTok, and she was telling me, oh, I helped this girl with something in her business. And then I networked with this lady who wasn't even on one of my trips, but I knew she'd been on your trips before. So it kind of built that kind of community. And for me, when I reflected on that business, one of the pieces that you look at with slightly rose-tinted glasses, because
Yeah.
running those trips is a lot of work, was the trips just really felt like the piece that I loved. I just loved seeing people coming together and creating experiences that they may not have on their own or couldn't kind of recreate, because we'd put these very special curated trips together. So community, if I thought about what really mattered to me, it was community. And then the second piece was, I've had a career where I've been, progressing in my career in banking. I've run my own business. I've also been in a C-suite position as a COO at an e-commerce brand. And all of those experiences then made me realize, well, I think one of the things that I missed along the way was really networking and building my own community. So
Yeah.
whilst, I built a travel community, and I have personal friendships, and I didn't really have that sort of network to support and ask questions to. And looking back over the kind of 20 years of my career, there's points at which where I feel like I could have benefited from having a bit more of a support network. And by creating this community, we're hoping to build that support network that younger women need and women throughout their careers, so that we can continue to just advance women in business, whether that's their own business or in their career, and moving them up into more leadership positions, seeing more women in those sort of C-suite positions on boards, and just continuing to help that and give people confidence. So yes, long-winded answer, but
No, but I love it.
community building definitely is something that I felt very rewarded by, but I could also see the benefit that it had for the people that joined that community. And my personal I loved seeing those connections being made. So going into this new venture, it kind of marries my own career experience with that community building experience.
Well, it's also something that's so needed. Like women need these support groups and we need these networks because a lot of times it's the boys club and it's the golfing and those things that you
Yeah.
see, but like where did women go? And
Yeah.
90% of the time, like they're going home to take care of the household or they're, going on to do whatever hobby or activity they're doing, but it's nothing that's always community based where
Mhm.
it's helping them excel in their career.
Absolutely. And one of the things looking back at the beginning of my career in banking was, it's obviously known as it's very male heavy. I was
Yeah.
fortunate there was a lot of women in my bank, and a lot of senior women. So I did have that support a little bit there. But what was always interesting was, it was that good old boys club, as you said.
Mhm.
Every client event that we had for my clients, and most of my clients were men by nature of the
Yeah.
fact that there's
But
more men in C-suite
mhm.
positions than there are women. So a lot of my clients were men, but every event was a golf event, a whiskey tasting. They were all geared to men. And then there would be occasionally one, which was for our female clients, and it was a shopping event. And we kind of like, okay, I get it. These are wealthy women who have assets that
Yeah, but
maybe
you're
they
putting
want to
them
go
in
to a
gender
nice,
buckets.
but you're gendering them into, oh, it's shopping for women and golf for men. Um, and Formula One, which is fun. I
Yeah.
loved going to the Formula One. I think everyone does, but and a lot of women play golf. So it's not saying that those things, but they were directed in a way
Yeah.
to the male audience. And I think that's something that we need to see more shift away from. And yeah, we kind of want to say we're not the good old boys club. And that's why we're creating a community that is just for women. I think there are networking communities for men and women, but what we'd like to have is that opportunity for women to just feel comfortable going and networking with other women and supporting and lifting one another up.
I mean, it's so important. And I'm sure that the cross collaboration that people are going to get is only going to help. And then it's
Mhm.
good for your networking to, make these connections. What kind
Absolutely.
of events are you going to be throwing that kind of steer you away from what a normal networking event
Yeah.
would be in our heads?
So as I said, not boring networking is going to be our tagline to some extent. So I think we really have to make sure that we live up to that. What we often see as a networking event where everyone's standing around, they hand out a business card, and there's
Yeah.
probably someone awkwardly standing by a sad looking snack table,
Bad
thinking,
cheese plate.
how do I insert myself into a conversation? Or once I'm in it, maybe I'm in it for too long. And I actually came to this event and I only ended up speaking to one person. So I think what we really want to be able to offer people is the opportunity to network with more than one person, but in a casual environment that they feel comfortable in. And that we can foster conversations that can come out of an activity. So it's not that pressured situation where you're just one-on-one talking with one person and immediately saying, what do you do for work? And what does that mean? And what do you do? And I do this and I work in compliance or whatever it is. And it kind
Yeah.
of becomes a bit of a stilted, boring conversation. If we can facilitate an activity that everyone's doing together, and maybe something they actually wanted to do anyway, then they can have conversations around that. But you've got a natural point of conversation that's that activity. So whether that be a really beautiful wine tasting at a nice event space in London, or even a career girl walk. So you're out doing an activity that you would have wanted to do, a nice walk in Hyde Park, followed by a brunch. One lady actually said to me, because many people have social anxieties and they feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable in situations where maybe they have to have full eye-to-eye contact, and that just makes them a bit nervous. They don't want to come. And that person was also saying something like a walk is great because you're not directly doing that. You're just walking along, you're chatting with each other, you're building those connections. You can kind of move through groups, but end it with a beautiful brunch in a fun venue that you wanted to go to anyway. We'd also love to do co-working days where you start, so have a full day that you can kind of say to your boss, I'm going to take the day I'm actually working and networking, do it in a nice hotel where we start the day with yoga, then break out into a brunch session again, and then maybe have a
Nice.
couple of mentors who are accessible, and people can book some time with some senior inspirational leaders leading women in different industries. So a day where you're still doing work, but you're also networking, and you don't feel that forced, oh, I'm just in a room for an hour or two and there's a presentation that I'm not that interested in because I get enough presentations at work. So anything like that. And we're really open as well as we get going. What do people want to be doing? If there's a book club or something they wanted to do, or is
I
there an
love book
activity
club.
that's happening? I know, I think everyone loves a book club.
Love book club.
Throw that in. Or is there an activity, or it's Christmas coming up and there's so much happening in the city? There's a lot of the beautiful domes on the river. Do you do like evening drinks at one of the Copper Club domes? And that type of event, that's something personally myself, I'd love to go, but my
Yeah.
husband doesn't really want to go with me to
No, he
sit in a
does not want to sit
dome
in the dome.
and have cocktails. But I know that a lot of women would enjoy kind of something like that, where they're doing an activity they wanted to do themselves anyway. All sorts of things, painting, it could be vision boarding, but really anything that brings that activity element and helps make the networking fun, enjoyable, something you wanted to do anyway, whilst being able to then connect with people on a social and career level.
I feel like doing these kind of things helps form deeper connections too.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel like the deeper connections are going to really play out in like helping with career networking, creating a mentor? I mean, like you said, you go to the boring ones and you're like, what do you do? And it's like dating and you're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
great. And where are you based? And oh, that's fun. Like, do you
Yeah.
like what you do? Like, I don't even know
Yes.
what that job is. But like
Is.
having these deeper connections,
Yeah.
even if you're not in the same field, I feel like you can find a similarity in like if you wanted to grow in a career ladder or you're learning to manage people or things like that.
Absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. That is the problem when you're in that networking environment where you ask those very quick questions. And
Yeah.
if you don't kind of get the answers that feel like, is this beneficial to me? Is this person really a connection that I need? And you're kind of missing that there could be so much more in that conversation that you're losing just by having this very surface level. What do you do? What's your role? Do you like your work? And how's the weather in
Yeah.
England? And that's kind of how those
Mhm.
run. Whereas if you're in this natural environment, maybe it is a wine tasting and I don't know, flower making workshop, flower bouquet working bouquet making
It
workshop.
works. Both of
Maybe
them
it's
work.
something fun like that, and you're talking and you're chatting, you'll start talking about your interests. It might open up a conversation that wouldn't have happened if you just started at the work surface level, and it will still get to career. Or, oh, I happen to know somebody who does this. Maybe I could connect you with them. And I've had lots of great meetings in London where, you go and you're connecting with someone. It might not be a benefit personally to me or even to that person, but you might find a connection that you both have two people that that you're like, those two people should really be
Yeah.
connected with one another. Maybe we could try and connect them, or next time let's all go for a drink together and try and bring them together. So I think that's where that more natural event can allow to go beyond beyond the surface conversation and go deeper.
No, and I think that's so important. And I think that having it be just for women is so
Yeah.
important. You're just more comfortable in those kind of settings.
Mm-hmm.
Like you make it like a friendship thing. And like you said, around the
Absolutely.
activity that you like. But I mean, the minute you add a man to the room, it throws
Yeah.
off the balance and the harmony of it.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely a place for that. And, I certainly don't think that only women can network with women and only men can network with men. There's
Yeah.
so much cross collaboration that can happen. But I think in this environment, it can make women feel comfortable. And just from my own personal point of view, I think it just eliminates any you know, dating side of it or anything
Yeah,
that might
right.
pop
That's
out.
what it feels like.
It's really just about making friendships. And if it doesn't become a helpful piece in your career, it's like creating a new friendship there too. But we really want that people can find mentors, peers, people they can ask questions to who are maybe doing a similar job to them at another company. And they're tackling a marketing problem that, oh, I'm also tackling that marketing problem. This is how we solved it. This is what's working for us, and just sharing that knowledge across different industries and different people who are coming to the
Well, yeah, and
events.
it's giving them a leg up comparative to the guys that are on the golf trip, and they wouldn't have that
Yeah,
leg up. And that's
yeah,
so important.
exactly.
So you have the newsletter out, which I subscribe to and I love. Um,
Great.
and this is going to be in-person events, but how is the online platform kind of working with
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, so we're going to have we're building a online membership platform. So our members will be able to sign up, which will give them access to the membership platform and then events. And then within that, we'll have a directory. So one of the key things is obviously being able to find other people that you want to chat with,
Yeah.
ask questions to. So a members directory will be one part of it, a chat forum so you can ask questions. And I think that's where if you're having a problem at work or you're looking for a new tool or a system that someone else might be using in their business and you're just looking for some advice, that's where you'll be able to ask and people can kind of chime in. Or maybe you're looking for a new career and you're looking to sidestep into another company, seeing if somebody else works there and can give you a little bit of background on that company and give you a little bit of an insight into what it's like to work there. So kind of that gives you that forum to be able to ask questions and
Yeah.
access sort of everybody, because not everybody in the community will be at one event. So that'll be a place there. And then we'll also be hosting masterclasses with senior
Oh,
leaders,
cool.
inspirational women, authors, really across industries and across levels, so where they're at. I'm fortunate to have a really great network of women who are in leadership positions. And as we continue to build out the community, I see more people coming in that can share their knowledge. And those are the people that will be wanting to put out a masterclass, do an interview, and give some of their advice specifically to the women in the group. And then fourthly to that, we will have an area which is just more your kind of library of digital assets that are helping you in your career,
Oh, cool.
managing kind of your time and anything really, tips on negotiating your salary, how to have difficult conversations with your boss, how to advocate for yourself when it comes to your annual review. So lots of tips and things and how to prepare for that. Right now, you don't want to be thinking, oh, my annual review is on the 17th of December and I'm going to write up what I think I did in the year the day before. It's like, what can you be doing now to really prepare for
Yeah.
that and position yourself for whether it's a pay rise, whether you want to be promoted, whether you want to take on more responsibility. And there's quite a lot you can be doing through the year just to position yourself for all of that. So we really want to have a lot of the information, career resources to help people in those conversations throughout the year. And that will kind of all live in there in a digital library as well. And then, as
No,
you
and I
said,
think
we
that's
have
so
a
smart.
newsletter. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, the newsletter, talk about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Great.
and then we have our newsletter. So twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, we send out our newsletter. And on Mondays, it's career focused. It's still not boring. We try and make it fun. We try and make it interesting. We bring in some popular culture there. This isn't your boring read. This should be the email that you want to open on a Monday.
Right.
You're like, yep, this is fun, interesting. It's from
Motivating. Yeah.
people that feel like me. Yeah, motivating. And so we'll dive into a topic. We talk about events that are happening in and around the UK. And those are ones that you might want to sign up to, things that are in London. We also talk about job openings, so really interesting positions that are happening. So you can, not have to scroll through and dig through everything. We've
That's
pulled out
so
some really
important.
like
It's so hard.
nice career job openings. So that's your kind of a little bit level up, pressure boss, you know what's happening. And you've also like tackled some interesting topics. And then on Thursdays, we come with the how to make the most of your time off because we're working hard. You're working 5 days a week. What do you do on your weekends? What do you do with your holiday, vacation? So that Thursday email is more about what's happening and what you can sign up to in London and the UK, what events. And we make that for every type of person. So if you're solo, if it's a date night, if it's a girls' night that you want to do, or you just want to stay at home and snuggle up on the sofa and catch the latest, movie or book or podcast that you should be listening to that's kind of making the most of your time off. And then we also have recommendations in there. And as I said, things that are happening in and around London. So you kind of know what to sign up to for that weekend to really make the most of your time off.
I mean, that's so smart though, too. And to have it twice a week, that's a big pull on your end too.
Yeah, it is. And I think that that's really where we want to give people just that motivation, as you said, on a Monday, and then really bring the kind of like the fun part of it for the weekend. Because I think we don't want to just be a boring careers advice website that you
Yeah.
sort of scroll through. We want it to be, oh, I actually, I want to be part of this community and these are my people. So yeah, an email newsletter is always a lot of work, but it's also really where you can put in a lot of passion and interesting pieces into there. I like doing it as well because often I'm finding, helps you find small brands, female-owned businesses that we can
Yeah.
share in there. So on our Thursday one, we also have like top editor picks, and those often are going to be and will be. I love supporting female-owned businesses. So things that I found myself bought, loved, and would recommend. We have those kind of picks in there as well.
I mean, I love that. And I think it's not just a fad that we're all going through. Like women are really leaning into buying more small businesses run by
Yeah,
women, like marked as women owned. And I think
yeah.
it's a way that we're supporting when we don't even know these
Hmm.
people, but in its own way to be like, this is a female owned over something I would just buy on Amazon. Like,
Yeah.
try this brand. And like
And you
it's
feel a
free
bit
market, small
happier when you
businesses.
open.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
a
you
thousand
feel like
percent.
happier when you open it. I feel better. I bought something. It's often then really packaged beautifully because women, we know
Mhm.
how to do
We
packaging.
love.
And, they have a nice unboxing type experience. And then you have a product that you feel like, oh, well, I supported this person. And I'm helping to have more women have successful businesses and careers. So I think it feels good. And then I love talking about those to other people. So whenever I meet someone, I'm like, oh, I found this great brand and you should check them out. So that's something I personally enjoy doing. I think that's something we can bring, and I felt was important to bring in our newsletter as well, is sharing those finds with our community.
What's something you've been doing, I mean, since the travel days? Like whenever we went on a trip, like it was very like a women focused aspect. Like we went to women
Hmm.
run businesses
Yeah,
or shopped at women run stores. And it was always
yeah,
so interesting to be like, you would source these from the beginning to
yeah.
make sure that like they're getting a platform too.
Absolutely. And actually, interestingly, in London, I've noticed there's a sticker on businesses that are owned by women. So if you're walking around, and I hadn't seen it before, and I don't know if you have that in New York when you were there, but there's on like restaurants, there's often like a female owned sign. So I think it's becoming more common for people to kind of say, hey, I'm a woman and I run this business, and not to say that's the only reason you should go, but it's like another factor to just see and spot like women-owned businesses and spotlight them. And there's some really great resources in the UK for finding women-owned businesses as well.
Oh, that's so cool. I don't think we have that, but I mean, some websites will have like women owned
Yeah.
or like black owned, and you're
Yes.
like, okay,
Yeah.
great. So I'm giving back to more of a minority that is
Hmm.
not as prominent in the business world. And so it's not, hey,
Absolutely.
there's the white guy that's
Yeah.
mediocre white man over here just doing his thing. Like you're like, no,
Yeah.
this is run by somebody who's just probably like me and just trying to like
Yeah.
make a brand.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So where do you see Pure Sweet going? Like what is the dream here to make this just UK based? Do you want to go big and go global?
Yeah, I think I would love, you always want to think big and think we can go global. But I feel right now I'm really homing in and making the niche in the UK and London. That doesn't exclude people coming because eventually, we're going to have some weekend escapes. Again, escape the city type of thing, come to the Cotswolds with us for a, digital
I love
detox
that.
maybe. So we don't want to exclude anyone. And obviously there's a lot of people in the UK, but I really want to get it right here and then and make people really have that there's enough events, there's enough happening. They don't feel like I joined this community and then, oh, every 4 or 5 months there happens to be a little meetup in the pub.
Yeah.
We want it to be that there's a lot of stuff people really feel they get the benefit out of it. So initially starting in the UK and London allows us to really put that energy, effort, and the quality that, you've come on my trips before.
Yeah.
And anyone
They're
that's
so
met me or
special.
knows me, I have uh I'd say mild OCD. So I do have OCD. So I'm very much like someone that likes to make things
Yeah.
perfect and make a great experience. And so by doing that, that means again, I have high aspirations for every event that I'm going to run and how they'll be and what gift bags you get and everything that's involved in that. So we want to make that really great. And then expand out into other chapters in other cities would be a goal as well, but just making sure that we're doing it in that right scalable way that allows it to continue to be at the quality level and gives everyone that personalized membership experience. They don't feel like, oh, I'm just one of, 1,000 people, 2,000 people in
Yeah.
this group. And, I don't even, no one really knows who I am. And I kind of went to one event. We want it to feel like, oh, I found my community. And if I email Becky, she'll reply to me and drop me a message back. And that's something that's very important to me as well, is always being accessible. And obviously that's not 100% possible at all times, but I
You have a
do try
life.
and keep do try and keep the network that I have through everyone that I've met on trips. And I think that's something that I'm, always making sure I'm following people and checking in with them. And I want them to feel comfortable to come and chat to me. So building that community here and then expanding out into other chapters. So really right now, obviously it's just being able to create something that people really want to be a part of. And hopefully people in other countries are like, hey, where is it for us? We want that. That would
Yeah.
be the goal.
And to like see it expand. I mean, UK has so much to offer, and I feel like you guys are a little more forward thinking on a lot of the gender equality issues
Yeah.
and like seeing the numbers trending more in the right direction
Yeah.
for women in business. So, and your network is there.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to
Yeah.
like start there and really
Absolutely.
grow
Yeah.
that.
And as I said, I have a great female network, lots of people I look up to, and I'm fortunate to be able to be connected to and have other people connect me on with. So just continuing to then bring that community or that network to my community as well.
Yeah. I think the sky's the limit for it. I think it's going to be big and I'm excited for it. I can't wait
I
to come to
hope
an
so.
event when I'm in London.
I was going to say we'll have to have you. I'll time it around your July, June, July trip
My June,
next year.
July
We'll
trip, and I'm going
definitely
to be
have
like, hi,
some. We'll
guys.
have some events going on, especially. Maybe we team up on
I'm
a Femme Force X Peer Suite event.
I mean, I would love that. That would be so cool. What full circle
Yeah.
moment. You take me to Africa twice, and then I'm in London now. So that would be a
Yeah.
whole thing. No, I think it's
Yeah,
going to be
well, we've got plenty
amazing,
of time to plan, so
right?
we can
With
definitely make that
all the
happen.
OCD plan time. We've got this
Yeah,
going.
exactly.
So you're also working on a passion project though with your husband Ryan. So
Yeah.
shout out Ryan. You're not on the podcast because it's for women, but that's okay. We're mentioning you. So tell me a little bit about that and like how Ryan got involved with this.
Yeah, so it's actually something that we sort of it had a bit of a weird beginnings, but basically it's called Tiny Actions, and it's the concept around taking small steps to reach bigger goals. And I think it can feel really overwhelming when you have a goal, whatever that goal might be. It might be running a marathon, it might be writing a book, it could be getting a new job, starting a business, any one of those things, or even one part of one of those things feels like a lot. If you're running the marathon, maybe you want to run the first 5 miles and just get to that. And there's just like a lot of steps to it. So again, in a community aspect, we're creating a platform where just for a minimal membership pricing, you can join and basically just have accountability and community to help you with achieving your goals. And breaking them down from one big goal into small actions. Initially, if you've got this one big goal, what are the 5 actions that you need to take to get to that? What are the goals within the goal? And then within that, what are the small actions? And then how can you actually be accountable to those daily and build them into your habits and your routine so that it doesn't feel overwhelming and you actually make progress, but you check in with a group that's you're accountable with, that you can kind of say, well, I did actually do my morning run, or your goal might be, I want to meditate for 365
Yeah.
days of the year. And my micro goal is just literally I just need to get up in the morning and do 5 minutes, or I just need to download the meditation app on day one, breaking down that goal. I think I feel this starting a new business, it can be extremely overwhelming how much needs to be done.
Yeah.
And then, as we said, as a perfectionist, how much needs to be done, how much needs to be done perfectly. And also, oh, well, I could do it like this, but I could also do it like this, like the really good
Yeah.
version, which I'm going to go for, which makes it an even bigger goal. So there can feel like a lot there. So this is, a fun project for us that we both felt just excited by, because in particular for Ryan, he felt very attached to that in the sense like breaking down goals and beating overwhelm and beating procrastination as well,
Yeah.
where you say you want to do something, but you actually just each day think, well, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow is the next day. And then it's Sunday. And then it's the end of the year. And you're starting 2025 and thinking, oops, I meant to
Yep.
start that and I
It's
haven't.
so hard though. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's one of my biggest pet peeves is people that are like, "Oh no, I'm gonna do," and I'm like, you've had days, like
Yeah,
you've had weeks, like just do it."
do
Like
it.
I'm more of a
Yeah.
like I'm getting in, I'm doing it. I immediately
Yeah.
if I have an idea, I'm making a Google Drive, I'm doing a brain dump, I'm doing all the things.
Yeah.
And something we work on in therapy is just because I find it easy doesn't mean others do. So
Yes.
I think having tools like this that would help
Yeah.
people, because I'm always like, why don't you do it? Like you've got this amazing idea, or like you've got this great ambition of like you, and I'm like, you can
Hmm.
do it, then just do it. But like breaking it down would be so much easier, I think, for so many
Hmm.
different people.
I think so. And I think whether that's having the framework, which we built, the framework that people can then break that down into what feels manageable and achievable. And then they actually not only break it down, because I think that's the first step one is, breaking it down. I've made the goal. Now I've made it
Yeah,
into smaller goals. It's then step two is actually doing those
doing
things
it.
on the list. So how do you reward yourself? How do you structure that, whether it's an accountability partner, an accountability group, an accountability community where you just go in the morning and say, I did this thing. Here's a picture of me doing it, or not a picture, but I did it and I was accountable to someone. It was something I read a little while ago, and I don't remember the statistics exactly. So I don't know if we can voice over them in, but no, I'm like, it is about the likelihood of you achieving something or actually doing something or achieving the success or hitting the goal increases as you add an accountability partner. So first of all, as you write it down, it's going to
Yeah,
increase. As you then set a date to that, it's going to increase the likelihood of you doing it. Then it's telling someone about it, adds a bit more. Then it's committing to someone, I'm going to do it. And in exchange, I want you to kind of, I don't know, reward me with a meal at the end of the week together, or a
Yeah.
drink, a cocktail, adding a reward. And eventually you reach a point where the likelihood has gone from 2 or 3% that you're actually going to achieve that to 97% you're going to achieve it, because you're now accountable to someone that's going to actually hold you accountable and ask you the question. That's the other thing with an accountability partner. You want someone that's going to challenge you
Yeah.
and not say, oh, did you do that this week? And you go, no, I didn't get to it, but I'll do it
Oh,
next
okay.
week. And they're like, okay, cool. Well, let's check in again next Sunday. No, I actually need someone that's going to say, well, why didn't you? What was the blocker that stopped you from getting there? So yeah, I think this is something that people can join as a community and get that move from having an idea to actually making it happen. And whether that's a small goal or a big goal, it's helping them achieve that.
Yeah, but I think that's so smart. Like the accountability thing is having that partner and having somebody like I've done it for my fitness goals where I'm like, I need to tell you like this is what I ate, this is how many steps I did today, this is like my workout. Because I need somebody to be like, it can't be a friend always because they're like, oh,
Mm,
it's okay, you'll get it. And I'm like, that's
yeah,
not the kind of, I don't need that motivation. I need you said you were going to do this, like go do it.
yeah,
Like it's only 8 o'clock. Go do it now if you have to do it.
yeah,
Like get it
yeah,
in and get it done. And I think where you said like the writing it down is so true. I tell everyone they're like, how do you do all this stuff? And I'm like, I write it down.
yeah.
Everything is
And
in my
then
calendar.
and then the
Everything.
feeling to cross that off. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the biggest reward of all. When you cross something off the list, you feel great. You
Yes.
feel better
I'm
for it.
like, my
So
workout routine is my morning routine is scheduled on my calendar. And I'm like, and
yeah,
it is simple as get up, brush teeth, wash face. And I'm like, but it's in the calendar. So it
yeah,
will get done. My
yeah.
girlfriends make fun of me because I write reminders for like check-in texts once a week. And I'm like,
Yes.
for people where
But
I'm like,
that's
I want to
great.
check in on them. Yeah. I'm like, but like it'll fly by and then it's 2 weeks later and you
Yeah.
forget.
And those are the
Like,
things that then really help you build those relationships, and people feel like, oh, someone checked in with me. They feel good for that. Like that's such a good thing to have. And again, that fits into like the tiny actions. If that's the goal, just to have better
yeah.
relationships with my friends and my family. And okay, I'm just going to set myself a reminder text on a Sunday that I go and text these people. I think that's an easy one to achieve, but so hard for all of us when we've just got a digital world and so much going
We're
on.
just so busy. Yeah. And you're like, no, I did it. And you're like, no, it's been 3 weeks and I haven't even
Yeah.
like said hi. I used to have to keep a Sunday reminder for me to call my parents. They're my parents. But I
Yeah.
was traveling and I was busy and I'm all over the place. And I was like, nope, on Sunday, you have to sit down
Yeah.
and you have to call your parents. Like,
Call the
put the effort
parents.
into, like, yeah, call the parents. And like,
Yeah.
then they came to expect the call on Sunday. So it was like a nice thing for us to do.
So everyone listening, put the note down,
Yeah.
call your
Put it in your
parents.
calendar. I write, tell people, I'm like, write it down, write it
Yeah.
down.
Write it
But
down.
where, for this kind of, for this passion project, is this going to be on an app? Is this a website you can sign up to? Like,
Yeah,
what's the
so
plan for that?
so you can sign up on the website. So it's tinyactions.co, and you can sign up to the wait list now, and you'll see my lovely husband's face on there. And then he's leading that. And then there's a community back end to that where everything exists in the back end. So you'll just get a login and access there, and you'll be able to like network with the community. So it's really purely online, this one, as opposed to my business, which is a bit more in person as well
Yeah.
as the online element.
No, but still, like, we can't have people follow. I mean, we could have people following us around all day long, like checking off our list, but I think like doing it online would be
That would be
great.
good. Yeah, yeah,
How
exactly.
are you pairing people for it's it like, oh, you guys want to do the same thing,
Yeah.
or this person's achieved this already? And
So at the moment, it's going to be more group level. So groups rather than individuals, who's managing just the quantity of individuals. I think if we had a higher tier plan where you're just matching people on their specific accountability,
yeah,
then that would be where we can like put people into pairs and they have someone. But I think just having that, I must log in the morning and say that I did my action. Um, and when we were creating something, I think it's all about thinking about what you need personally. And that's with any business. It's like, does this resonate with you? Because if it does, it probably resonates with some other people. And
yeah,
for Ryan, that was one of the things that he kept saying was just like, if I just had something that I paid like $5 or $10 a month for, and all I had to do was log in and say that I did the thing I was going to do, it would motivate me to do the thing because I'm
Yeah.
now accountable to someone and to a group. And that's just the at the very simplest level is just having a community that you're accountable to and a group that you're accountable online.
I mean, you just said it's so interesting. Like you're a serial entrepreneur at this point, like creating really successful businesses between you both. And is that how you come up with these? You're like, you find a niche in your life and you're like, this is what I like, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
Like what, there's nothing
Well,
like this out there.
we spend a lot of time going through iterations of ideas and we come up with, I mean, I don't know, I'm sure there's plenty of people listening who will say the same thing. If they go into their, domain account, they have hundreds of expiring domains that they've bought
Mhm.
whilst having a glass of wine and coming up with another business idea that they don't do anything with. And there was a great meme that we saw, which I think it was like, there's two buttons, and one button is like renew the domain subscription, and the second one is like admit the dream is dead. And it's just like, if you buy the domain, it feels like, oh, I'm starting a new business. So we have plenty of those. So we have plenty of ideas. We often like sit and just brainstorm and just come up with things. I think we're always looking around, thinking of what, new options. But at some point with these ones, it was looking at what are our skill sets that we've more recently, been working in, and where do we feel most passionate about to kind of define between them. Because there's some product-based businesses that I really wanted to do. And actually, Tiny Actions kind of came out originally of a product-based business that we wanted to start. And completely sort of sidelined over into more of an accountability partner group, but could come back to kind of the products that we originated with. So it's sort of starting at a community level and then maybe becoming the bringing the products into it too. So I think it's just, looking around and what are your needs? What's something that you're kind of frustrated doesn't work, whether it's a piece of technology, whether it's you're looking for a type of restaurant or anything in your universe that or you've moved countries and something that you had in your country doesn't exist in the country you're now
Yeah.
in. Do that. If
Yeah.
it
You're
if
like,
it
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 worked
works
there.
and exists over there, it will probably work and exist in the country you're in. And if you're looking for it and can't find it, that can be something that I think is just the great starting point for a business. And a lot of people that I know who have been successful have done it through a passion or a need of their own. And when I started my travel company, I was working in banking. I was in my 30s. I had plenty of friends, and we could go for a nice girls' trip to Europe, to Greece or Ibiza, but they weren't wanting to go with me when I wanted to go to Ecuador and
Yeah.
Colombia and travel to Central America and go to Nicaragua and do all these other things. So I looked around for a group and could only find at the time over 55s, um, women's groups. So I was like,
Yeah.
well, there's a need, so I'll just do it. And came out of my own need at that time to start something that I was looking for and couldn't find. And I'm sure, it probably did exist somewhere. And maybe back in 2015, 2016, we just didn't have as much a connectivity through Instagram, through Facebook, through
Yeah.
everything, where you see all these different retreat options. But at the time, I couldn't find it. So I just made it. And I think a lot of the best businesses are born out of that need, not of just seeing something that, oh, that would be a great idea. It's like, actually, this is something I'm looking for and I can't find, or I can find it, but I can't find it at the quality I want. I want something better because it doesn't
I mean,
have
you
to be a
set the
new
bar for them.
idea. Yeah.
You did. You set the bar
Thank
for them.
you.
When I started going on any other things, I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know if it can ever be as good as what Becky did. So I come in very pessimistic. Like, we'll see. We'll see if you can like
Impress
live
me.
up to,
Impress
yeah,
me. I'm
impress
just,
me because I've been impressed. I have had bush breakfasts in the middle
yeah.
of Malawi with rhinos walking around. Like
Yeah.
like impress me. I would like to see something grandiose, if you will.
Well, I'm glad you had some great experiences. It was a really good time on all of those
Yeah. And
trips.
I'm excited for this new venture for
Yeah.
yours. I mean, I
Thank you.
made so many connections from like not just with you, but from you and from these trips. So I know that there's going to be so many more connections, like meaningful connections that are going to come
Yeah.
out of Peer Space and of Tiny
Yes,
Habits.
it
I
will.
think that
Yeah.
like Tiny Actions will be so great for people to connect in, and you're just all about the community and like bringing people
Yeah.
together. And I love that that's like when I think of you, I'm like, Becky will know someone. Becky always knows someone.
Good.
She'll know somebody.
Good. That's the goal. That is the goal.
So the last question I ask in the podcast for
Yeah.
every guest is not on the outline, but if
Oh,
you had to
just a
give one
surprise one.
piece of advice to your 16-year-old self, what would that be?
16 or like 22?
Oh,
16.
okay, 16 and
Oof.
16 Becky and 22 Becky, two different Beckys.
16, Becky. I mean, boring advice. I would say to research more for where you want to study, because that was something that I was unfortunately my family hadn't really been to universities, and I just
Yeah.
didn't really have a support group around me that I knew what was a good university to go to. I mean, you knew Oxford and Cambridge in England, but I wasn't at that level. I didn't know, and I didn't have or seek out. And I think that's advice for anyone at 16 is like seek out and ask questions, be curious, um, because I think my career and everything went great and I'm
Yeah.
happy.
It
But I
worked
do think
out.
that was something that I, at that point in time, didn't know when I was applying for universities, where to apply to, where I should start my career or what I should study. And so I just kind of studied, I ended up doing business and economics, which is not a bad thing because I just had no idea. So I just went,
Yeah.
oh, I'll just do business and economics, which led me into banking. So that's a great start. You cover everything, which obviously then becoming an entrepreneur, you've touched on it all, but a lot of that's real world experience in the long run. So I think being curious, asking questions, and seeking out advice, because I would say that example is just one point in time that I didn't. And I don't think it was like super detrimental, but I do think there's an opportunity always to ask questions and seek out someone that may know the answers from you. So I think for me now, um, looking back on the last kind of, my career history, I would say that's something I can do more of. And I'm really trying to do in 2024 has been a big goal of mine is to build my networks and ask questions, be curious, and learn from other people.
Yeah, but I think that's such good advice, not just for 16-year-olds, but like you said, throughout your entire life. Like ask questions, find the
Yeah.
community, make the
Yeah.
connections.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And
think
that's so
that's something
important.
that we should all be doing at all times. And then, believe in yourself, take risks, which is always a bit hard to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, trust in your intuition. And if you think that something feels right, um, follow that path and know as well, looking back now, and something I would say to myself is things are for seasons. Not everything is, the whole, oh, if I start this thing, then I'm in it. And or if I take this job or I start this business, that's it. That's the be all and end all. Some things are in your life for a season, and that season could be 6 months. Because it could be a friendship, it could be a partner, it could be your
Yeah.
career or a business. It's there for a season and it's okay sometimes to let go. And I think that's a big other piece of advice and something that I really reflect on now is that some of the experiences or people or career moves I've had have been for a season and they taught me something and something valuable always. There's always something to learn from
Yeah.
every like season. So I think it's just accepting that there's seasons in your life and they'll change and they'll all help you to grow in the long run.
That's so smart though. But it's something everybody needs to know. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
because
here
it's
for a short
hard.
time, maybe not a long time.
Yeah. It's hard to think of that. Sometimes something ends, it makes way for something new, but something ends, or you might hang on to it a bit longer than you should have, whatever that might be, or stayed in a job or did whatever it is. But I
Yeah.
think it's accepting that that was that season and now you're on to the next one. So that's a
I
piece
love
of
that.
advice I give to myself whenever I'm thinking, oh, that thing happened, or I did this for longer than I should have. It's like that was the right time and it was the right thing at
Yeah.
the moment. And I learned from it in the right way.
And I mean, that's such a good perspective to have when you think of things too happening in your life. I love
Yeah,
that.
I hope so.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm
Yeah,
so excited that we got to catch up and I got to learn all about the amazing new things that you're up to and let
thank you.
everybody know where they can find you and follow Pure Sweet and any.
Yes. So if you're going to Instagram, you'll find us at PeerSuite. And then if you are looking for the website, you'll find us at peersuite.co.uk. And over there, you can jump onto our newsletter. And then for Tiny Actions, it's tinyactions.co.
Love that. So everybody make sure to go follow, check it out. I think it's going to be
Yeah,
great. And I'm so excited to come and experience it in London.
absolutely. Well, we'll be doing that joint event next year. I'm going to hold you to it. We'll do a little
I mean, I
Femme
love that.
Force. Yeah, absolutely. That would be great. Well, thank you so much for having me, though, Rachel. It's been really fun to chat with you and hear a little bit about your stuff and then share about our new ventures.
So excited. Thank you, Becky. And we'll talk to everyone on the next episode.